Biz de müzik çekiliyoruz.
Biraz önce geldim ama yarın
Tabancası iyi. Tabancası olmuyor.
Üç maymunlar vardı ya. Büyük bir şey lazım.
Ching ching. Last time we started 5 minutes early, we were seriously criticized. So today we are starting on time. And needless to say, Bilal Hammad is a very old friend, apart from anything else. And he is one of the most leading architects of Jordan. And his buildings has always been very interesting and nominated to many prizes. And he's a holder of many prizes himself. And without much ado, he was passing by and he agreed to come and meet you and talk to you. And the floor is his. You have your thing?
Yes, but I need to, how to start here? I don't know.
You put your...
No, I haven't. I gave it to you.
Üstüne oturmadı. O ben üstüne otursaydım.
So, good afternoon. I'd like, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Suha Askan for this opportunity and like to thank you all for coming into this presentation. My name is Bilal Hammad. I came from the city of Amman, from Jordan, or Urdun, as you call it in Turkish. I've been living in Amman since childhood, but originally I came from Nablus, the city of Nablus, which is in occupied Palestine these days. I am going to talk about mainly about architecture in Jordan and the architecture we produce, and I will be mixing architecture with culture, if I can say so. We in Jordan, I consider it in a rather new country, and Amman as well. It's not more than 100 years old, the city of Amman. And we are trying, me and my fellow architects in Amman, to produce Ammani architecture, if we can say that. As you see, I studied architecture in Egypt, Alexandria, and I started my practice in 1977. In 1981, Nida Masana joined me in this project, and after 10 years of working, we got married, and now we are managing this practice since then.
Still married. It's so sad. That's why I say it.
And then 22 or 23 years further, our daughter Bana has joined us as well. She studied architecture in Bath in UK, making a new blood in this practice. Well, our team is not that big. It is me and Nida plus 4 or 5. Sometimes it reaches 6 people, but all of them are architects. And mostly producing works in Jordan itself. We have some few works in Palestine, but most of our work is in Jordan and in Amman in particular. Well, as you see here, architecture, interior, urban and landscape, and graphics and branding. I work with these different subjects, but mainly I consider myself an architect, and our office is an architectural office. I mentioned earlier that I am obsessed with culture, and especially when I am here in Turkey, I always look for influences and for what we have in common. And I am telling you, me as an urban person, who is living in northern Arabia, we have a lot of things in common between us and between the Turks. For example, in food, for example, many things. When I enter any restaurant here, it's the same food and the same words. We have kunafa, we have lokum, and we have
مسكر
musakka,
قطايف قطايف
and qataif, and
مالتي لا
and even the manti, we have it, but we call it another word, which looks like a Turkish word. We call it
ششبرك
shushbarak.
ششبرك
Shishbarak or shushbarak, I don't know. It doesn't sound Arabic.
Börek is generic.
Uh-huh.
Börek is generic. Shish we don't know.
Uh-huh.
Shish börek.
Çiğ börek mi?
Cheap. Mantı.
Çiğ börek,
It's a high beer.
Mhm. Baklava. You call it baklava. We call it baklava. But it's always the same. Well, talking about this culture in common. My name is Bilal. My father's name is Nazim. And my grandfather's name is Husni or Husnu. And the grand-grandfather is Shakir. So as you see, some Turkish friends, they said, all of these names are Turkish, you must be Turkish. And my grandfather, who is Husni, he studied in Istanbul. And one of my family members, he was a Majlis Mab'uthan during the Ottoman, in the 1900s, in the beginning of 1900s.
And he studied what?
Mhm.
He studied what in Istanbul?
He studied what is what
Well, I think at that time they used to study Sharia. Mostly. Back to our work. Actually, I chose a small number of projects here in this presentation. I don't want to. It's rather hot here, and I don't want you to stay for hours. Maybe I finish in less than 1 hour. I hope so. The biggest project we did is in the center of Amman, and it's called the center of Amman is called Ras Al Ain, which is by the way, Amman is a hilly town, and the beginnings of Amman was in the valley, where there was a small I wouldn't call it a river. It's
Creek.
mhm.
Creek.
Well, it's a small water feature passing by, and it only appears in winter time. And it used to pass through this valley. Yes, that's good. But the municipality covered this spring during the 60s, And they, after covering this small river, they discovered this piece of land in a major site in the center of Amman, and they decided to develop it here as the municipality building with the town hall, and here a cultural center, and here a museum and a mosque, small mosque. And we, as Bilal Hammad architects, we were asked to do the master planning for this piece of land, and we were asked to design the municipality building, the cultural center, and the mosque. In addition to the landscaping of the whole site. So I will be covering the municipality building, the cultural center. They call it Al Hussein Cultural Center, in the name of the late King Hussein, and this tiny mosque, and here an urban plaza. We call it the circular plaza or the fountain plaza. This is the municipality building. It's a rather long or elongated building with 20,000 meters squared. Well, in this building, we were trying to forge an identity for the architecture of Amman. Since Amman is only 90 years or 100 years old, there was not a developed identity for, especially for official buildings, for governmental buildings. So that was our proposal for the municipality of Amman. It's a mixture of urban spaces and buildings. And I was asked later, this building was designed in 1997 maybe, and I was asked to add 2 more floors in 2005. Here without the addition. That was the original. Now we move to the Al Hussein Cultural Center. Well, I would like to mention that we kept the movement of pedestrians along this valley. So even the buildings here, all of the buildings, we can penetrate these buildings to maintain the movement of pedestrians all along this site. The cultural center, it has a podium, and on top of this podium there are 3 buildings. One of them is the main theater, and a library, and the main building for the cultural center. this podium, it has an urban plaza where people can gather in special events. This is the cultural center from inside. We try to practice our interior design capabilities in this building. And this is the main theater with 450 audience. It's very active now. It has lots of events on daily basis. On the same site, we decide. Actually, we had to we had to demolish a mosque. So we built another mosque because we already demolished one. Actually, we demolished a mosque here in this street, so that we had to build another one. And it's rather small. It doesn't take lots of people. And as well, I worked a lot on the interior of this mosque. Especially on this Qibla wall with stone facing and with these niches. I gave some importance for this Qibla mosque, for this Qibla wall. And I introduced some color into this newly designed mosque with lettering, with chandelier, with these are ceramic. These are ceramic tiles, where I managed to find an Armenian who does. Who do ceramics in Amman, and he did all of these tiling, or these ceramic tiling. As you see, the site is in the valley, and the hills are on both sides of this site. The beginning of the site, this is an urban plaza. Usually demonstrations that takes place in Amman. It takes place somewhere here, and they move after prayer, after the Friday prayer. They move from the Friday mosque into this plaza, and everything ends. So the ending of the demonstration takes place here in this space. And well, this plaza used to have fountains in the beginnings, but it disappeared afterwards, as most of the water features.
Yeah, water feature, the memory of the place.
Mhm.
Memory of the place.
Fountains.
Memory of the place.
I move now to some residential works we did. This is, we call it a ribat housing. We did it in being in the beginning of 1980s, it was a pioneer design in Amman, because Amman doesn't have this type of housing. It is 4,000 meters squared, the piece of land, and the idea was to introduce a courtyard in the middle, and the residential units are all around this courtyard. It was early, and it proved to be it is now a case study for all students of architecture when they take a housing project.
That's when I came to see you,
Yes,
And-
yes.
and she was working there as a designer architect.
This is the main street here, and I live
That
until
was for who? It's,
until now. I live in this unit.
Yes. No, but I came next to Amman, that's why now I'm.
And by the way, this project was nominated for the Aga Khan Award, but unfortunately it didn't work, it didn't happen. This is just more precise. It's duplexes where we have a smaller apartment on top of these duplexes. And this courtyard serves as a common space for the families and for the children.
And would you like to live there?
Yes, yes, actually, as I told you, I am living there since the beginnings of 1980s.
Yes.
And I'm still living, and I don't have any ambitions to move from this. This is a 3D, yeah. While when it was designed, there was no computers and no 3D drawings. This was done later on. In 2007, we were asked to design a housing compound with 150 apartments on the same basis, on the same concept of having a courtyard in the middle, and the buildings next, the buildings are attached to each other, surrounding this courtyard. And we were asked not to use stone. By the way, talking about stone, we have a long tradition of building in stone in Palestine and in Jordan. We have very good masons who work in limestone, and this tradition moved from Palestine into Jordan and into Amman. By the way, when I say Jerusalem and I say Amman, it's only 100 kilometers apart. It's very close. It's almost one country. So that's why Amman now mostly is built in stone. And this material has given the city a feature. we were asked here in this new city, which is not in Amman, it's a little bit far, it's about 40, 50 kilometers from Amman, because of economical reasons. We were asked to make it in concrete, in plaster, stucco. And we thought it's a good opportunity to introduce color in this project. This housing compound is owned by the military, and here there is an inauguration event for this development, and as you see the photo of the king here. This photo, this shot is taken here, from this lot, looking this way. And this photo is on this wall. It is 22, we say dunums, 22 dunums, which is 2.2 hectare. And as I said, it's 150 units. It's the same organization. We have a duplexes all along, and we have an upper apartment on top of these duplexes.
It is separate.
Yes,
Yes.
it is separate completely.
Each
It has
one has
its
its own
staircase.
entrance.
It has staircases.
Mm.
And well, the main designer for this project was Nida. She knows more. She knows better than me about about it, about the details of this project. And this project was nominated this year for the award, for the Aga Khan Award, but again it didn't.
Not shortlisted.
It was not
It was
shortlisted.
not shortlisted.
Some photos. Some rehabilitation projects I would like to cover. This is a bank, the Jordan Kuwaiti Bank. Maybe there is another. The building was like this. It's an old building that it was not built as a bank, and I was asked to develop this building. So we gave a facelift for the facade, and we added an additional floor, but retracted from the main facade, and we added another building here, which is a parking and an entrance for the managers. We go back a bit. Here it shows the additions in the additional floor and the new facade. With some interior design work as well. This is another work. It's a it used to be a Byzantine church. but almost you don't see the church at all. This is in springtime and in summertime, and we made a shelter, and this church has a rich mosaic floor, but it was covered. The archaeologists, they found the mosaics, and they had no money to do anything, so they kept it for 20, 30 years until we came and we designed this shelter, and the shelter and some catwalks for visitors to enjoy the mosaics underneath. These are some shots for the same project. This is an adjacent building to the church. We added another floor, and we made it like a visitor center. This is a project that is going to be done very shortly. Again, it's an old building, maybe, well, we say old, maybe it was built during the 70s. And now we are making a new look for this. And again, maybe adding another floor on top. With this new trend of green architecture and green facades and what have you. We finished the drawings. I think this year we will be starting to do this renovation.
This is in the Abdali military area?
Yes.
Not the military area. It's outside the military. In Abdali.
Same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is how it is now, and this is how it will look like.
The building is occupied. All the floors are occupied. So we try to do something that to
not
change,
disturb.
not to disturb the people who are still in the building. So we only added a metal facade for the green.
For
to
the
make it
plants.
green for the plants. Yes.
Well, here some interior work for the same bank. It's the branches. It has a lot of branches all over Jordan, and these are works of interior design. And in this slide, I finish my presentation, showing some of other projects. Well, during these 40 years, we have done more than 150 designs, projects in Jordan. And I leave now for any discussion or any questions.
I only wanted to tell you something. One of the most famous Turkish painter, a woman, Fakhrizat
Yes.
Zaid,
Yes.
Turkish, and she left the paintings to Jordan. You know, there are very, very few paintings in Turkey. She left everything there.
Yeah.
And she's one of the best.
Fakhrizat Zaid
Yes.
is a Turkish
Yes.
painter, artist,
Married.
who married a Jordanian emir.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
uh,
My daughter is
during the
50s.
40s, maybe 30s and 40s.
50s.
And I know that her husband was the ambassador of Iraq
Exactly.
in Germany, in Hitler, in Nazi Germany.
Yes. Yes.
But she is very well known, and she is considered as the mother of arts in the Yamani community. She's died now. She has died.
Yes, she has her own model.
Mhm. So, any
So,
questions?
you know, it's not finished.
Yes.
Where are her works?
Where are her works?
The museum.
Some of them are in museums in Amman,
National Museum. Yeah.
and some of them maybe خاصة ايش بسموها؟
Private collection.
You know,
Private collection.
Princess Vijdan, who is the person who established the Modern Arts Museum,
Yes.
they have some pieces there in Amman. And also Akram Abu Hamdan has some pieces to Bahrain's and
Private collection.
I have seen those two places and equally respected. They are in Jordan and in Turkey as
Yeah.
artists. Bilal, can you elaborate about this issue of identity? Issue of identity.
Yeah.
How do you develop an identity in contemporary sense for a city, for a country, for a climate, for what are your priorities? Can you elaborate on that? Because when I visited your the first housing and Ribat housing, the idea was that it belonged to Amman, you know, very clearly. And I think I came there in 1984 or 85 when we first met. And that line you followed up. What are the ingredients or aspects of it? Because it is not the construction technique that you are repeating. Okay?
Well, the construction technique is always the same since the 40s and 50s. Of course, it developed during these years, but still we have all the buildings most of the buildings of Amman are clad with stone, with limestone, and it has different textures. This is one of the main features of Amman. By the way, Amman is 1,000 meters above sea level. So it is rather cold in winter time. And we don't have these problems of humidity and of hot weather. It is rather cool. Even in summertime, after sunset, it gets perfect weather. Because of the hilly or the topography of Amman, it doesn't have this grid streets, this grid system of streets, because all of them are climbing and going down. And it has, we managed, the municipality of Amman managed to keep the height of the building as 4 floors maximum. So this again gave the city a special identity.
And also homogeneity, which is admirable.
Yes.
Yes.
I was
yes.
looking at Bodrum here, the city of Bodrum, and I noticed that the maximum height is 2 floors, maybe.
There is, yes.
Uh-huh. There is no. There are no
High-rise building.
high-rise building, and which is a good thing to watch here.
If the building is next to the sea,
Yes.
they have 2 floors under the sea,
Yeah.
and the road passing above is, for example, 6 more floors. So altogether 8 floors, up and down.
There are tricks.
Diamond of gold.
And by the way, the atmosphere of some parts of Amman, it's the same vibe as in Jerusalem. When we go to Jerusalem, to the neighborhoods that was built in the 40s and 50s and even 60s, it's as if I am in Amman, or vice versa. Mhm.
Today, when we were talking, Bilal told me that he was very much influenced by the Ertegun House restoration. And that was the sort of starting point for many architects and conservation. Actually, we were lucky in those years. There is a sort of regulation passed, which was very strict, and that is still predominantly active. Not more than 2 floors, and not more than 25% of the facade as fenestration, and flat roofs, and white color, and all those things. Now it is a sort of relaxed, but still, when you see next time, when you come to Turkey to see Kuşadası, Didim, and Marmaris, Bodrum is very lucky, as you have observed.
So Kuşadası and Marmaris are not strict on this.
They are urban setting like Beirut, you know. He's the leader.
Just before coming to the lecture, I looked, your work and your profile, and I saw that you had collaborated with the Center for the Study of the Built Environment in Jordan.
Yes.
You know, Mr. Al-Assad's
CSB, yes.
I'm sorry, this question is not directly about your practice, but it's more about what kind of mission that organization carries and how their work has affected the built environment of Jordan. How are they actually making a mark?
Well, it's CSBE, Center for
Built environment.
Built
Center for
environment.
Built Environment.
They are more into research.
Yes.
Research Center for Built
Research.
Environment.
It's a research center.
Marisa, that question is to be asked to me. I visited there many times.
Okay.
Mohammed Al-Assad is a scholar. He
Yeah,
has
I'm
good
not
ambitions, but his idea is research, publication, and basically that, very limited. It does not deal with architecture directly or doesn't have missions on architecture directly. But he advises good people with a good advice. That's all I know. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, it's
definitely yes. Muhammad Al-Assad. CSBE is Muhammad Al-Assad.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What's the material of your church cover there?
The cover was tiles.
Tiles.
Yeah.
What kind of
We
tiles?
were actually we were not thinking of having tiles on top because we were thinking of other more modern materials, but the
client.
the client who is an Orthodox بعرف ايش بسموه.
Orthodox church.
Yeah, he works in the church, and he was fascinated with tiles, with
Terracotta
tiles. And he
Yes.
said, I would like to have
Like
tiles
those from
instead of
Marseille
any
ones.
Yes.
modern material. So we had to accept his likings. Mhm. Yes.
So did you cover the mosaic with glass? Or
No.
It's open.
Yes, it's open. It's open.
But the catwalks are elevated.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
Yeah,
so.
we're very. We didn't want to touch the
No,
mosaic
of course
floors.
not.
Yeah.
You can see this.
Yes,
How big are they?
The mosaic floors. It's
Hmm?
how big
How
are
big are they?
the mosaic
The
floors?
mosaics.
What do you mean? You mean the mosaic?
Square meters.
Square meters. It's,
It's about 700 meters squared. About.
700
Yes,
meters.
600,
It's
700.
yeah.
It's not intact, actually. Some parts are
destroyed. Are
yes,
destroyed.
destroyed. But still, 70-75% of this floor is still in good shape. I would like to ask you a question. You as a group of interested people, mostly interested in architecture,
There are many
Are
different
you-
kinds of mosaics. So
It's
what
Byzantine.
practicing
Byzantine.
this profession in
Yes, but the big one, the
Bodrum,
small ones.
or
It's
it
the
happened
small
that you
Yes.
are
Yes.
spending the summertime in Bodrum?
For example,
Yes, yes.
I'm here since 45 years.
Mhm. In Bodrum.
In the same house.
Mhm.